Imagine a world without clocks. Rewind history to the point where the sun was the only method of keeping time. How would the pace of life look different then as opposed to now? It would assuredly be much slower. Our time-measured society now focuses on efficiency and speed to make the most of our seconds, minutes, and hours. The point of that illustration is making something changes something. Those simple dynamics are heightened in our present day. Our students are walking around with a supercomputer in their back pocket. So what does that change? It changes a lot, but there's one particular aspect that I want to focus on. Research shows that teens and young adults with higher than average screen time are more likely to say that they feel isolated, insecure, and critical of themselves. This is in large part due to the phenomenon of decontextualized information. We see this playing out on a global level, but also an interpersonal level. Remember at the beginning of the video how I said making something changes something. Until the invention of the telegraph, information was largely localized and spread slowly, usually no faster than the speed that a human could carry it by train at roughly 35 miles an hour. By localized, I mean that people in Chicago were less aware of what was happening in New York, let alone China. Their field of view was much smaller. Furthermore, because their information was localized, the issues were unfolding before their eyes and in their communities. They also were much more likely to affect change and gather more information. With the dawn of the telegraph, information could now move faster than humans could. It could move very quickly across broad spaces, actually. And so therefore, information became decontextualized, and with it, we could begin hearing about murders and riots and burglaries in all cities within all hours. Fast forward to now. We can see some of these things, some with pictures and videos, in seconds. We have almost unlimited knowledge, something close to omniscience, but we have very little ability to do anything about it. We see unrest in the Middle East. Do any of us have the power to cause effective, lasting change? So we have this perceived omniscience with very little to no omnipotence. We know all the things and have very little power to change anything. This is why in the lives of our students, omniscience minus omnipotence equals anxiety. They are rehearsing the dysfunction of the entire world every time they open an app, and they can't do much to solve it. On an interpersonal level, information is also decontextualized. A trend that I'm sure you're well aware of is the intentional editing and curating one's account to only show the positive aspects of their lives. Filters cover blemishes. The camera doesn't show the tears the night before, only the triumph of any given day. 65% of teenagers report feeling critical of themselves after using social media. 31% reported looking at other people's posts make them feel bad about the way they look. 40% said looking at other people's posts often makes me feel bad about the lack of my own excitement in my own life. Yet, the information causing these feelings does not represent the full picture. It is an intentionally curated, edited, static representation of an individual. Here's where the ancient way speaks a better word and forms a better heart. Scrolling through the word that says, "Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom," is the counter rhythm of the digital life. Through prayer, we cast all our anxieties on Him because He cares for us. This is the rooted life in a barrage and a sea of notifications. And this is the way in which we must encourage our students. Here's a takeaway. Look for comparison triggers. Ask your students intentional questions about how mindless scrolling impacts them. Sit down with your child to learn and develop ways to cope and regulate comparison, and maybe, just maybe, this habit will begin to equip our kids to process better on their own.